Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Hampstead School Board meeting for Tuesday, August 27th, 2019. The first meeting of the new school year. Melissa, could you please call the roll?
Sure. Jason Giard.
Here.
Caitlin Parnell.
Here.
David Smith.
Here.
See that James Sweeney is absent and Karen Yusenka is currently absent. Also seated at the board table is Superintendent of Schools, Dr.
Do the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, in your packets tonight, you have several sets of minutes we can look through for approval. We have, just wanted to make sure I'm getting straight. We have our meeting minutes from our June 11th meeting, as well as non-public meeting minutes from June 11th, and then also minutes from our June 11th training session. And finally, minutes from our June 27th goals work session that we had. So if you can take a few minutes and review, and then I'll take a motion. Motion to approve. We can do all these at once, correct?
I'm sorry?
Did we? Does anyone have?
I have to abstain from one.
Okay, so let's separate the work session.
Right.
We'll do all of the meeting. If someone can give me a motion for all of the meetings on the 11th, we'll start there.
I have a motion to accept the minutes for June 11th for both meetings.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you.
And I'll make a motion to approve the work session minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you.
All opposed? All abstaining? Thank you. Next up is public comments. Melissa, do we have any public comments
There
this
were no
evening?
requests tonight, no.
Thank you. Next, we have administrative reports. Mr. Collins, would you like to start us off?
Good afternoon. Just want to basically reference back to the report that was sent to you, just a few things, but school started today. They all showed up. We had a whole bunch of kids up from first grade up through fourth grade. We had a gazillion preschool, kindergarten parents, aunts, uncles, little brothers, little sisters. The school had a lot of activity. Last night, the place went nuts. They were just like this continuous flow of hundreds of people coming through, lots of smiles, hugs, few tears, both days, so we made it through. There weren't that many teachers crying, but it was a great day. We had a good time. I just want to speak to the enrollment a little bit so the board is aware of a couple of little minor glitchy pieces. We are right at 479. When I left this afternoon, I just sort of did a quick scan of the 479 that are included in our school. 7 of them are families that are moving into town or into our school program. Example would be children that are being screened by our preschool special education team, and a couple of families that are moving in. So that number is for real, like in the 470s, but that's still a very strong number. If you take a look a year ago, we're about where we were, but we are way over what Hsdsb predicted. I will also point out the policy IIB has a specific statement that 20 students, we need to keep it with the recommendations from the board of 20 students per grade 2 classroom. I actually have, due to that unusual size issue with 2 of the classrooms, I can only put 18. Since I have 100 students spread across 5 classrooms, it's an average of 20. However, the reality is there are 2 classes that are at 18 and the other classrooms are at 21 or 22. So we are actually, I need to bring it to your attention, and typically the past practices, the board just gives us a motion to allow that to happen, to exceed the recommendation. The policy is IIB. You have a listing of all of our new staff. I can tell you that we have also hired in the last day a long-term substitute by the name of Jennifer Green. She'll be filling in that grade 3 classroom. That's a teacher that is out for another 3 weeks due to the tail end of her maternity leave. Ms. Michelle Carberry will be returning later in September. But Jennifer Green has been hired as the long-term substitute, and we've also made arrangements that she will then just transfer over and become our Title I tutor to complete the school year. I want to say thank you to Mike Flynn and the SAU HR department for getting that moved through, because a week ago this was moving slowly just to get the people into the door. And I'm telling you the same thing principals across the state are saying. Getting long-term substitutes has been very challenging across this region in the state, right along with hiring paraeducators, some teaching positions. On safety planning, our emergency response operations plan is all complete and signed, and I'll be sending it out tomorrow. We've got some more work going on with some security. Our playground looks awesome. I hope you come by and jump into the swing. It's a wonderful swing. The literature says the swing can hold 4 to 6 children up to age 12. So I interpret that if a dad, mom are with a little kid or a grandparent, it would be fun. Our Central School Handbook has been posted on our website. I encourage you as board members to take a look at the handbook because it did go through a lot of revision this summer. Dr. Cheney and I spent a significant amount of time. You've got a listing of all the training, but I did want to specifically highlight that School Resource Officer Mark Conway was awesome last Friday. He did some of that very specific training that is important for us to be prepared for some high-end situations in our school. That emergency response plan, he is wonderful. He's a great guy. In fact, he had some fellow members of the department come over to assist in the training. And I will say to you that I'm very proud of the way the staff responded. They've obviously learned a lot from the training that's gone on and refreshed to them this fall. Lunch buddies, I just wanted to highlight that we've changed our lunch schedule at the Central School. This was in a lot of literature that went out to families. This has a lot to do with that very large kindergarten. So the kindergarten, it has their own lunch first, and then first grade has their own lunch. And we've blended the second, third, and fourth grade. It's in the schedule. And I just want to push ahead a little bit to September 11th. That's our annual event to honor heroes. So we are looking at, if anyone wants to join us, this is an opportunity for parents, family, friends, people that are in the military, first responders, police and fire. I know our local police department and fire department usually sends over, and we usually get a few family members. So if you know someone of that just have them call my office, and we'd love to have them visit our school. It's a great chance for children to meet real-life heroes. Thank you. Oh, by the way, we provide the books to you, and they're easy to read, so, in front of a group of children. But thank you.
Thank you. Do we want to do the policy waiving now, or do we want to, is that okay? Can we do
Yes,
that so we don't
of
forget?
course.
Can I have a motion that we waive policy IIB in relation to the second grade classrooms for this school year?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We had a wonderful first day of school, and it was very nice to see all of you last night at the open house in the role of school board member and as parents. And thank you, Dr. Metzler, for being there last night as well, and today to welcome our kids in on the first day. It was pretty flawless today. The buses were moving on time, a couple minutes in the morning, a little bit later, maybe a couple minutes in the afternoon, but it went very well. So we're basking in the glow of a wonderful opening day. We had open house last Monday from 5 to 7, and it was crowded. There were many, many people there and people visiting with the nurse. We had a special meeting for the 5th grade parents along with their teachers, just to talk about everything that means to be a Hawk, and talking about technology, what are all the electronic resources for parents and how to access them, how to get to the parent portal. And it was very well received, and I think in this day and age where our students all are one-to-one, it's important for the parents to be able to navigate through all of the technologies that their children are using. 8th graders met with their teachers and Mr. Mayu in the gym to talk about transitioning to Pinkerton. Sounds early, however, it comes very quickly. So we pride ourselves in the transition and getting our kids over to Pinkerton as often as possible, and parents to be in the know. We have under the parent tab, the first tab is Pinkerton parent information. Anything you need to know, any forms, they're all there ready to go for in the next month or so. I have to just point out and thank Mrs. Karpinski, our 5th, 6th grade school counselor, and I know those of you who have little ones, she did a fantastic job of really upping our transition process. I know that was a goal of yours in the past few years of creating more transition opportunities from the central school to the middle school. So on last Tuesday, she came on in, and we had 47 students come to decorate their lockers. It was low-key, but it was fun. They got to see their friends. They decorated their lockers. There was a lot of, excitement about it being in their new school. So I have to thank her and the 5th grade team. They were all there to assist our newest Hawks. In the spring, Mrs. Karpinski had all the 4th graders, while they were still at the central school, write letters to 5th graders to ask them some questions that they were concerned about. And so the 4th graders sent it over to the 5th graders, and the 5th graders wrote their responses to the 4th graders. And then 2 weeks ago, Mrs. Karpinski mailed it all out to our newest 5th graders. So they all got a letter from their fifth grade pals that are now 6th grade pals, and they'll be joined together in some activities during the year. So that was fantastic. She's also enhanced our 5th grade's experience during the first 25 days of school. They will have during a UA period, not EUA, during the RTI, that they are going to be learning everything it means to succeed in middle school, about organization, working in how do they sign up for extracurricular activities. That's kind of the stumbling blocks when a child enters into the new school. And we're very thankful that we have a number of UA teachers and Mrs. Karpinski to lead the way in teaching them the first 25 days. Our facilities updates, I have to thank Mr. Geary. Our classrooms that he undertook to update with new ceilings, walls, beautiful flooring, has just given us such a good facelift, and people are very excited. It's stellar, it's modern, it's crisp, and the kids were really excited to see it, and the teachers love it. So I have to thank him for getting this done in time. Again, I would like to reiterate that Detective Conway and the PD did a fantastic job in upping our security practices, and that's our third year that we have gone through that training, so kudos to us. Destination Imagination, the final thing on my report is that we're moving from one team that we had last year. We're now moving to 2 teams. So we have parents, Meredith Eyre, Kathleen Abrazizi, Ken Pavlini, Shani Lang, and Kim Schuler have offered to lead the way for us to have a 5th, 6th grade team and a 7th grade team. So very thankful for their volunteerism, and we will support them in DI.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Our Destination Imagination team, so is it fair to say that we have adequate support for both teams?
Yes.
Materials and support, finances, and...
I included it as a budget item for this year, so we're in good shape.
Great. I had several requests over the summer that we were going to be able to support the 2 teams, so it's great to hear that we're in good shape. So we don't need to add this to the board for anything. We're in great shape moving
We're in
forward.
great shape, Dr.
Great, thank
Messler.
you.
You're welcome. Any questions?
I don't think so.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we doing any more? Mrs. Gallagher, are you okay to come up for, figure it's the first one of the, I know we don't ask you to do it every time, but beginning of the year, it would be nice to hear from you as well.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to see all of you. I'd like to just report out on the extended school year summer program that ran from July 8th through August 1st, a 4-week program. Kara Gordon is the ESY coordinator, and it went very smoothly, so I want to extend my thanks to her. The staff, the teachers, the therapists, the school nurse, and the paraeducators all worked really hard to make it successful, and we had 72 students that attended. So some of them attended a full program, some attended tutoring sessions. It's all very individualized according to the needs of each student. So I was pleased that it went very smoothly. And then my other update is just an update on personnel for special education. So I've been very busy trying to hire paraeducators. I have some great people who I've hired so far, but I still have several positions to fill. So I have put in for substitutes at this point in time to help cover the students. But I'll announce the names of the new people, if that's okay. So we have Paula Maroon at Hampstead Central School, Claudia Golda Dominguez at Central School, Ashley St. John, they're all at Central School at this point, and Tina Jedry. And then I have positions that I'm still working on filling. And then at HMS, I have Nicole Gutman, who is the new special ed teacher for the ASD program, and Caitlin Del Greco, who is the new special ed teacher for the EH program. And I'm working on filling some para positions there. And Erica Moberg is the school psychology intern that's going to be working within the district this year for us. So that's pretty much it for this at this point.
Thank you
All right.
very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, this would be a good time just because we're talking about new staff, if I could. The chair and I had talked about, reception at one of our board meetings. Following the 2 open houses and the first day of school, we didn't think this would be the best night, but invitations will be going out to newly hired staff for reception at the beginning, 6 to 7 or 6:30?
I think we usually,
6:30 to
yeah.
7.
6:30 to
do
7, about a
half
half
an
hour before the
Yeah, half
meeting
an
on
hour.
September 10th. So the new staff, and hopefully you'll have all your new staff hired,
Right.
and we'll be sending those invitations out, so
Okay.
that'll be at our next meeting, so thank you.
Okay, that'll be great.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Mr. Flynn?
Good evening. So I want to take the time to basically thank everyone for my transition here recently to Hampstead. It's been a great start for me personally and professionally, but especially with the admin team with Maria Dillard, Tara Lynn, and Lynn have really helped me transition over here. It's been quite amazing. Meeting the staff 2 days ago was also a different experience for me, having speaking to the entire district at once. It was good to meet with people, and over the next 2 days I had small breakout sessions with the entire staff to get to know them and have them get to know me a little bit better. I'd also like to compliment the technology department. as I'm learning my new position here and working with them. But Joe Dion and Mike Shaw and Don LeMay and Marie in that office have really held the transition together and helped us. I mean, I could go down the laundry list of what they've accomplished here this summer, but without them, I surely would be with my head spinning. Distance learning took off today, which is another compliment to them. That's something that actually, when you guys introduced me the last meeting, we purchased the equipment for them to take the class at Pinkerton, and that went off successfully today, and the students were able to attend their class. Also, I'd like to compliment the new coordinators, specifically Heather Burkett and Chad Pimentel. I think I said that right. I'm working on it, because they redesigned and redeveloped the new mentoring teacher with me this summer. Met several times and welcomed those new staff members here. Also, the professional development with Kara and Kate. We started to look out throughout the year and with curriculum with Kristen Karamatopoulos. Got that one right, and Annie at the middle school. Real first-class people, and looking forward to working with them all year. And then last, Dr. Messler providing me with this opportunity in the board. I'm really looking forward to the work ahead. Any questions on the report? I highlighted some stuff this summer that I thought would be beneficial for you. All right.
Okay. I think
Thank
we're
you,
great.
guys.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to current business. I'd like to start with summer projects. Mr. Geary, if you'd like to come up.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So a sheet should have been distributed. I'm not sure if you have it. It's a spreadsheet. Blue header.
Yep, we got it.
All right. I'm actually going to run down and start with the Hampstead Middle School. So as Mrs. Denola indicated, we started phase 1 of our classroom refresh project, I guess you could call it, where we replaced the ceiling tiles, the flooring, and painted the walls in 7 of the classrooms at the middle school. Room 217, 218, 411, 413, 415, 417, and 611. And also a small group slash office space there too. We originally budgeted $60,000 through competitive bidding. We received a price of $53,300, so there was a savings there. For the classroom ceiling tiles, we originally had $20,000 budgeted on a per square foot cost of what we had, we've been paying in other schools. But that came in lower at $10,840. And the painting came in at $9,800, and there was $15,000 budgeted. So through the competitive bidding process and quoting, we were able to get some pretty good savings on those projects. Moving up to the central school, as Mr. Collins indicated, the playground install was completed. It came out really nice. There's some fun pieces of equipment there suitable for the whole family, so I encourage you to check it out. We had to waterproof the elevator pit at the central school per the state inspector. That's typically because elevator pits by nature are below grade, so we do get some seasonal leaks in there. So we hired a company to come in and inject concrete, spray paint, and water seal the pit area. We originally had $15,000 budgeted for that. We were able to get a cost all done with the inspection for $6,546. So our elevator is fully compliant now. You'll see below the elevator pit, there's a highlighted area for temperature control in the 60s wing. Now, this was a project our team felt was important to move on using the savings from the projects that we saved money through bidding. And in the 1960s wing of the central school, we will be installing temporary through-the-wall air conditioners in the 8 classrooms in that wing. After being here for 2 years, in the start of school, we always have rooms that register above 90 degrees, and students cannot learn in that environment. So the units also come with a heat function, so for those really bitter cold days where we were taking temperature readings, we can also have supplemental heat, right? So I must caution, the public, if they're watching, that this is a temporary measure. It's not the most energy efficient. However, It is the only way that we can keep an adequate learning environment for those rooms due to the construction and the age of the building. Finally, I'd like to close by thanking the team. Right? So we have our custodial maintenance and grounds team that did a phenomenal job, and especially Marie Nicolosi in the office, who really shepherded a lot of the communications between vendors and helping me coordinate the schedule. So my special thanks to her and all of the support. So happy to answer any questions that you may have on the facilities.
When did you say the temperature control was going to be put in?
I'm sorry, I didn't say that, right? Everything else has been completed. This one here, the units are actually on site, so we needed to get them on site for our metal fabricator to be able to work on the braces that are going to be used to support them. So these will all be custom fabricated. A really talented individual with an engineering background and design background we had to have really good supports for these, especially with the second floor windows. So we'll make sure that those are in. So I would estimate within 2 weeks we would have that project complete. We ran into a back order situation as well with the air conditioners because we wanted to make sure they had the heat function in addition to the AC, because if we were doing this install, we may as well take care of both seasonal issues in the building. So I estimate about 2 weeks or so.
And also, in case anyone in the public heard that we spent over $20,000 on a swing, I'd like to be clear that that was for the installation with O'Brien and Sons, and that money came from a donation.
That's correct.
From Katie Toscano.
Yep. And there are multiple swings, I should note, too. We replaced the old end-of-life swings that were on site and also added the oodle swing to complement it.
Finally, I understand this is the last time you will appear before this board, is that correct?
Perhaps. I like to think I'm still young. So I do, yes. Yes.
Publicly thank you for everything that you've done for this school district. Your organization work, your ability to budget appropriately and plan strategically has been a great help to this district. And you will be sorely missed. I wish you well on your future endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Metzel?
Well, it comes as a great, professionally and personally, disappointed, that we won't get to continue to work together. And, a lot of times we tell people, how you finish will be how you're remembered. We've known for some time now that this date was creeping up on us, but we needed to get ready to open 9 schools and a performing arts center. And I have to tell you, Mr. Geary's work is impeccable. This guy is special. Tremendous loss, personally and professionally. We'll miss you. We wish you well. We'd love to work with you again if we get the opportunity. But I have to say how you finished. All of our buildings are in great shape in both districts. Let's just talk Hampstead, ready to open. And we really appreciate that because not everybody finishes that way. Right up to the bell, he's just been incredible. So, thank you. On behalf of both districts, thank you. On behalf of Hampstead, thank you. We appreciate your work, and we wish you well. So thanks, Tom.
Thank you very much, Dr. Metzler. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve, the community of Hampstead and all of its students. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so. Okay, next thing on our current business, and this is kind of a good transition where we talked about some temperature control issues. I want to talk briefly and just make sure we're continuing to keep this in front of everyone publicly with our central school need for renovation. As Mr. Geary mentioned, yep, we're addressing the immediate issues in the 60s wing with temperature. However, because we haven't addressed insulation and new windows and everything else, he said it well. This is not energy efficient. We're not going to be saving any. We're going to have dollars flying out the windows to some extent, and the walls, because the walls just let everything go right through them. And then, as Mr. Collins mentioned, we have a second grade, which has 2 undersized classrooms, so we cannot keep to our policy that we would ideally like to have for all of our students because we have undersized rooms. Additionally, I think it was mentioned a little bit in the administrator's report, but Mr. Collins mentioned they had to do some moving around of lunches. So we have third grade split between two groups, which, seems like it's not a big deal, but to have those kids together in third grade, spending that time all together, socialization is important with their peers. We can't keep those students together because we don't have enough space and enough time in our day for lunches for all of them. So I don't know if any other board members want to speak to this at all, or just, we would like to keep this as a topic of conversation this year. We're still working on what will be presented in March on the ballot. We have to put something forward. We can't just ignore it because none of this is going away. Again, going back to something Mr. Collins said, we have a massive kindergarten. We added, a reminder to anybody from the spring, we added a whole nother classroom size to, we moved a teacher from first grade to kindergarten because of our numbers. So to dispel any myths that continue to go out, our enrollment is not dropping. And we're going to continue to be dealing with this, and whether we're doing what are essentially short-term solutions with the temperature control, or splitting up classrooms, or splitting up grades for lunch. It's not going away. We've been doing this for 6 years, trying to put something forward, and it's not going away. So we have to, as a community, we're going to have to, at some point, address these issues in a permanent way. I don't know if anybody else has anything to say. Okay.
You said it well.
Okay.
I think you said it all. I mean, it just has to happen at some point. But have we formed a construction committee? Are we going to do that?
We are working on it. I think we've discussed before, Mr. Smith and I will be the representative to the school board. I'm kind of a little bit giving this to him to do some organization, but we are going to be working on it. We are in the process of hiring a facilities director. That is moving. That is, we've got interviews going on, and hopefully we'll have someone in place soon. But I do think it's important to have that person in place as we're having these discussions and figuring out what our next steps are, in addition to our architects and our construction teams, because that person will be out in front. Dr. Missler.
Our plan is to have a recommendation for facilities director at the September 10th meeting. That's our plan. That may be aggressive, but that's our hope.
Thank you.
I would imagine soon after that, having the committee started up very shortly after.
On the 11th.
What's that?
Next day, on the 11th.
Well, that's, I would hope that that's the priority for this coming year, above, everything else is, to help guide that plan and something to come to fruition for the voting.
Okay. And will you chair that committee?
I think so,
Yeah.
but Caitlin and I were talking about it a little bit, but we haven't, we're
Okay.
going to talk after today.
Yep.
Good.
Okay, moving on is our school board goals for 2019-2020. You all have in your packets what came out of our work session in June. This should still be considered draft form. I would like everyone to have a chance to review them and speak to them a bit if you would like. If there are, I think we're perfectly well-suited to do some minor changes tonight. If anyone has any big changes they'd like to make, or anyone feels that we need to discuss these in depth, which is absolutely fine, I'd like to set up a work session to do that, rather than going through all of it tonight. David, I know you weren't there.
Right.
So I want to make sure you're comfortable with all of these. So we take a few minutes and read through them, and then maybe we can start off by discussing if we want to do a work session. And if not, we'll...
But this is everything, this is what we said at our last work session, right?
These are all the topics. Some of them you'll see are continuations from some of our goals last year, because I think ongoing pieces are important, especially some of our implementation pieces. For instance, for FLES, our goal last year was to get the development of a FLES curriculum, and this year we do want to continue to support that, so that was important to us to have in here. Another, budget usually is on our goals. That's pretty much usually there. Strategic plan would be one that I might question if we want to expand that a bit, because it is on the list to get a new strategic plan for the next 5 years. So, but we can take a few minutes, read through, and then discuss. Okay, so first impressions. Are we thinking we'd like to have another work session?
I don't think so. I mean, you weren't there at the last one, but this is everything that we covered. So I'm fine with this with just a couple of questions.
Okay, let's start there. And then.
Under the facilities improvements, to continue, I'm not sure that that's a facility improvement. To continue to support green efforts in the school district, including but not limited to the reestablishment and expansion of a recycling program in both schools. Reaching out to the town to explore a composting program. That was in for the last 2 years, and that's actually never been done. So I guess we either do it or we take it out of our goals. Is someone actually going to reach out to the town? I mean, it's no sense to keep putting something in a goal if we're not going to do it.
Well, if I could. The hiring of a new facilities director may be very helpful in the execution of this particular goal.
Yeah.
Right, so, but if not, you're right, it's not something we're going to actually execute, we should probably remove it, but I am optimistic that the new facilities director will be able to help connect some of these, especially with the town. That's really going to be a focus, at least from our office, trying to get the town more involved in some of the school business, especially in this regard.
Okay. That's good to know.
I think that as we're looking to hire, I think that's one of our priorities, so that's a skill that we're looking for in the new candidate.
And I'm just not sure, what does cultural competence mean under 4? To create cultural competence in our district through systematic education of students, staff. That needs to be clarified for me.
Well, one of the things we talked about at our workshop was, well, some of us reaching way back into our history. We talked about some programs that actually formerly were at middle school in terms of the Olympics program. Mr. Collins probably remembers. This was before Mrs. Denola. But we were just talking about ways to really integrate discussions of different cultures, different worldviews, and you want to speak? Go ahead. He knows what I'm talking about. No one else does.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, why can't that be, as simple as that, be the goal?
Well, I think we didn't want
to
hem that in.
To produce a cultural event like we did with the Olympics in the past, rather than just to create cultural competence.
I think for me, I wanted it to, my thought was a little more widespread than maybe just one event. You can talk. Tell us about what you said.
Tell us what our systematic education of students, staff, and
Way back in the
administration
20th
will look
century
like.
when I was a music teacher.
Yeah.
Just tell me what that's going to look like.
It was a school-wide event where we basically created an annual Olympics. And each classroom adopted a specific country around the world. I would say the closest parallel to today is in fourth grade when they do the multicultural unit, except ours culminated in an arts presentation for the last 20 years of the central school. At the middle school, it was actually an Olympics, so they adopted and studied it throughout the school year, and you maintain all that little log of keeping track of Olympic records for the middle school, which this also predated before we had track teams at the school as well. So there was an opportunity to provide a track and field spring type of event. So, but part of it was the study in the classrooms. To what extent it varied from year to year, I think what we're talking about here is a lot of the culture that exists, and that was looking at country culture, but there's an awful lot of culture that exists within our own country. I do remember at one point in time, I think we spent 1 year just doing states, like regions or states as well. So,
Yeah.
But it
you'd have to go
encompassed
back in your yearbooks, Caitlin, to take a look at that.
Distinctly remember being Greece one year.
Well, I remember
think I
when
still
my
have the
kids were in
T-shirt.
it. Yeah, my
We,
kids are your age.
Greece came back regularly
Oh, I'm
because
sure.
of
'Cause
the
it's the
historic
Olympics?
significance, yes.
Yeah.
But it was everything. It was the culture, they were broken up into units. Their dress, their habits, their holidays that the country celebrated, the food that the country ate, and everyone was involved. Back then,
Yes.
it was home ec, and we made some of that food for the event.
Some of it was made in home ec, some of it was made within the classrooms, parents got involved, so yes, it was,
And the whole middle school multipurpose room was filled with different tables and different countries, and you went around and sampled everything, and the kids could tell you about the countries. It was good. I don't know why we stopped doing that.
I don't want to hem anybody in, and especially like Mrs. Denola, I don't want you to feel that we're saying, here's this big project, please implement it this year. It was a discussion we were having about bringing, I know diversity and everything, some people say it's a, maybe a pop word at this point, but.
It's global citizenship.
Thank you. Oh, maybe we should change it to global citizenship. I like that. But that was what we were getting at here. It may be something that maybe we do need to discuss more, but that's what we were trying to put forward as a goal.
Good. I think, one of the terms that you'll hear a lot, and it's a term that really irks me in a lot of ways, is teaching tolerance. And I'm not suggesting we teach tolerance at all. It's about acceptance and appreciation. We're not tolerating anything. So I think we're looking for vehicles for people to be able to appreciate and accept the diverse population and its global citizenship. And I think we didn't want it to be one-off, just a grade or two. We really want it to be a system. And so I think we left that, if I remember correctly, our discussion was, let's leave that up to the buildings a little bit to embrace this goal and kind of expand on it, both at the central school and the middle school, but and really talking about those vehicles that encourage appreciation and acceptance. And so I know they have some creative ideas, and I know they're working on some projects, but I think that gets to that cultural competence piece that's kind of a buzzword now too, 21st century.
Right. That's what we were trying to get to.
I think my only, again, not part of the working team on this was, how do we know this is successful at the end of the year, right? What is the measurement of success here? To say, great, it says create cultural competence, and I'm picking on that one right now because that's the topic, but any of these, how do we know at the end of the year we're successful there? I'm not trying to be prescriptive at all, or want to be prescriptive and saying, you need to do this event. It has to be from September to October, but give you the leeway to incorporate something, but at the end of the year, we want to come back and say, this is how we met that. Does that make sense?
Could it be so simple as, a report at the end of the, not a report, reporting out at the end of the year, just.
I think Dave's speaking to smart goals, basically, how are we going to know that we met this goal? And I'm big on evidence collection, right? So that's part of it, at the SAU level, when you look at superintendent's goals, but school board goals. So I would think if we talk, something systemic, we'd be able to show evidence that in every grade, we did things that really spoke to accepting and appreciating diversity and working toward cultural competence. And things that we could build on year to year. So this wasn't a one-off kind of goal. It would be one of those goals that you would see year to year, and as we bring back. So, are those quarterly reports here at the school board, or is it twice a year? I'm not quite sure what you'd like to see, but we certainly would want to show you what we're doing.
Right. And it may
Yeah.
even be things that we already do. For instance, the fourth grade multicultural, I mean, that's already there.
Right.
So that speaks to what we're already doing, in my opinion. So,
It's interesting too, when you talk school board goals, what's the school board going to do to, well, typically, what's our work, what's your work? I mean, your work is support.
Right.
You're supporting this by actually making this a goal, and then, how do we walk that out? Like, how do we make that goal alive and well? And then, what's your contribution? I mean, you come to events and you support, if we ask for materials or programs that help support, you typically help us with that in the budget process, or if we need to move money to be able to support something like that. So I think that's all right now a work in progress, but to Karen's point, what's it mean? So I think we need to probably look at your goals when we're writing our goals. I think you'll start to see some of your goals. I know you'll start to see some of your goals alive when you look at my goals or our goals and building level goals. And I think that's where we start to get into those details about how we'll show that we've met that goal.
I think that's what I'm, for me, that's what I'm looking for, go back up to the facility improvements, right? We talk about exploring a composting program. Well, when we meet, I can say, okay, I made a phone call. Oh, I met that goal. I explored it. But really, what are we trying to get here? Are we trying to say, provide the school board with a plan of implementing composting by the end of the year? That's something that we can say, did they do that or not? Whether or not we accept it, whether or not we can actually jump on it, because maybe it's just cost too much, there's some other prohibitors, but I think just having a little bit more meat behind some of these just makes...
I completely understand and get your point. I think for us to stay, as we use our agenda throughout the year, our agenda these goals should be alive and well in our agenda as we come back to report on or to show or even ask for resources to help get some of this work done. So we should be reporting out on these goals and our goals, regularly, not just at the end of the year. Here's all the evidence, but ongoing.
okay, so hearing what everyone's saying, I think maybe we should do a workshop or a work session so that we can have maybe more measurable. I mean, is that accurate, or am I misinterpreting?
Well, at your workshop, another opportunity really is to see where these goals align with the superintendent's goals, which align with the building level goals, the district goals, right?
Yep.
So I think you're right, those workshops, and again, I want to thank you for that workshop. I know it was a summer evening well spent, because I know for Mr. Flynn it was very helpful, certainly for us as we tried to craft, but I think that's a nice opportunity, even at that workshop, even if these goals were completed, to see where the dots connect. And I know building level goals are still being developed as we speak. So that might be a nice opportunity to do that.
Okay, so then I'm going to say we should do a work session. Melissa, how about you and I work with Dr. Metzler to look at some dates, because you do make a good point that it would be nice to see kind of building goals at the same time. I don't want to push this too far for us.
No, we can have a quick turnaround, and I would recommend you tabling the next item, because I just brought those goals, and you have them, those are superintendent's goals. They get approved at the SAU level anyway, but they are district specific. But I think until your goals are finalized, I think you should table those goals and then other goals, because our goals are really going to be contingent upon what you decide is important in the direction of the district. Right?
Okay. We will work together to schedule and go out to all board members to find a date that works. Sound good?
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
So we're okay with tabling?
Okay, yep, we'll table the superintendent goals. Next is the summer hiring approval.
Excellent. In your packets, I guess this is annually an item that we ratify summer hiring. So we'll be looking for a motion to accept 3 professional hires and the resignation of an English teacher to be released from the contract. So it's really the summer hiring recap. I don't know how much detail you want to go into in this regard.
We usually talk to who it is, usually. Just kind of a quick.
Okay, well, we have, I think Ms. Gallagher made reference to several of these hires, but we have 2 special education teachers, both at the middle school. One is Caitlin Del Greco, and the other is Nicole Gutman. And we have a math teacher also at the middle school, Samantha Wallach. and their credentials and are in your packets. And I didn't know if you wanted to go into non-public to discuss any of those hires, or if you were fine just accepting those hires. Also, the resignation of Brian Dine, who was an English teacher at the middle school, did a fantastic job and has moved, I believe, closer to home.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept both the new hire, the summer hiring, and with regret, the resignation of Mr. Dine?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Next, we have the New Hampshire School Board Association call for resolutions discussion. This is something that's done every year through the New Hampshire School Board Association. This does take, so did we must have talked about a delegate when we assigned, what?
It was you.
It was me?
It was you.
How do I keep being,
It was by default. No one else wanted
no
it.
one wanted it? Oh, it's me, okay. Great. So, however, it's not just me doing stuff. If we have any resolutions that we want to bring forward to the National School Board Association, which I believe we do, we're allowed to submit one or more if we want. Each school board can send a voting delegate, but you're all invited if you wanted to attend. Everyone can go. So it's basically the resolutions are brought forward, there's voting, and then that kind of becomes the position of New Hampshire School Board Association about what they're going to support through legislation, or it's also statements of belief. We did learn recently this summer that this does have some pretty big impact, based on a surprising stance that New Hampshire School Board Association took with regard to a piece of legislation, and we did find out it was because of the districts that sent, the school boards that sent members. So,
Mention that now.
if you would like, if you would like.
I just want to mention it now also because I am the liaison to the legislature. And important things happen here, and it's important that we go and that we attend. They deal with a lot of issues. This January, Oyster River School District and Keene had, I don't know what they're called, articles or bills to be voted on having to do with gun-free school zones. And the gun-free school zones actually passed the legislature 194 to 154. It also passed in the Senate. I don't have the numbers. It passed in the Senate. So that at that point, our schools would have been gun-free school zones. Unfortunately, Governor Sununu used his veto power, and he vetoed that. So our schools are still the way they've always been. They are not gun-free school zones. New Hampshire is only one of 3 states that does not have that. Wyoming and Hawaii are the other 2. 47 states in the United States have gun-free school zones. So while I was looking at this, I also saw that the New Hampshire School Board Association agreed with not having schools being gun-free. So I called and I spoke to their attorney there, Barrett, Christine, and I said, why? Why would you do that? And he said, it's very simple. In January, at the delegation, we had a vote. 27 school districts in the state of New Hampshire, 27 said that we voted in favor of having gun-free school zones. 33 school districts in this state voted against it. And he said, the school boards are our constituents, so we had to come out on the favor of not having gun-free school zones. So this is something that I think we need to consider moving forward, not tonight, but moving forward. And for the record, all of our state representatives, our state senator and our state representatives voted against HB 560. They voted against having gun-free school zones. So we need to look at, the board, needs to look at what we can do with this going forward legally, legislatively. And this is just one step right here. Staying in touch with the New Hampshire School Board Association and having a resolution in place and following up on this next January. So that's what we hope to do.
Okay.
Any questions?
So just speaking to the timeline for this, if we did want to submit any proposed resolutions, whether it be what was just discussed or additional ones, we have a November 4th deadline. So we would want to discuss this going forward in our meetings and determine if we're going to draft resolutions. So Melissa, can you keep track of that date for me?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so we can add it to further agendas and work on what we might want to put forward.
Okay.
Should have 4 meetings after tonight, before that November 4th.
Right.
So maybe by the second meeting in October,
We would want to
come
have
some sort of
Yeah,
position
yep,
and submit.
yep. Okay. Oh, next we have on the agenda organization and the SAU 55 withdrawal plan discussion. I did want to have this on tonight's agenda because previously the Hampstead board has not really talked about it in our meetings because this was a Timberlane School District committee that was being formed and being voted on. And we really didn't have much to comment on prior to any meetings before this because really as Hampstead, we were kind of in a holding, waiting period to see what was going to be proposed. We do now, Timberlane's Withdrawal Committee has put out publicly their drafted plan. They did hold a public meeting, a public hearing of that plan on the 20th of this month. Mrs. Yusenka and I attended as Hampstead board representatives, and I did give a statement. So we have had time to look at their plan. I'm not at all going to read or give my whole piece that I spoke to, but for Hampstead to be aware, this board is in support of the concept of withdrawal. We don't feel at this point that there is a lot holding these two districts together. At times there are conflicting priorities. So the concept of withdrawal is not one that we're against. I did speak to a couple of concerns that came up with the current plan that has been put forward. And I'll speak to them briefly here. The first is ongoing liabilities, which honestly goes way over my head most of the time, but I've had to dive in and learn about this a bit, as we all have over the past several months. And really that becomes what is the long-term financial cost to being our own district, being our own SAU with the current obligations that SAU 55 has. We want to make sure that our staff is taken care of and we are fulfilling all obligations that were agreed to. So in the current plan that Timberlane's Withdrawal Committee has put forward, they don't really address all of those liabilities. So that's a concern we have. We do feel that it needs to be a little bit clearer on what they're going to propose. And then the other piece that was a concern to this board was the issue of weighted voting. There has been, over the past several months, a lot where Hampstead has not had a say on the SAU level. We are a contributing member, whether anyone has disagreements about the percentages or not, those are stipulated in RSA, and we deserve to have our votes count. So our concern was that should withdrawal go through in March, so that would be if the Timberlane sending towns vote to withdraw, we would like to have some assurances that the Timberlane members of the SAU board will not use weighted voting in a way that will continue to impact Hampstead once they have withdrawn. So those were our two main concerns that we have wanted to put out there. And I do want everyone in Hampstead to know we are starting to look very seriously about how we would move forward as a single district SAU. I don't think anyone here has huge concerns about Hampstead's ability to do that and continue the excellent level of education that we've always had. So we are looking into all of our options. We are going to continue to talk about this, I believe, at our meetings to make sure that the public is as informed as they can be. If anyone is interested in looking at the withdrawal plan that is on the SAU Timberlane website, there is a section which is the withdrawal committee, and you can look at the plan. If people have questions for us as board members, please email us. Our emails are on the school district website, so reach out with questions. We're more than willing to give you any answers that we have. There are some things we don't know yet, so but we'll answer questions as we can and continue to look out for the best interest of Hampstead. Anybody else?
Nope, well said.
Okay, that's the update. So we're now on to board comments and correspondence. David, you can start.
Let's see, I attended last night for the fifth graders being indoctrinated into the middle school. It was really great to allow them the flexibility to walk around the halls, start to get comfortable with who their locker mates are, and to hear all the information in the gym from a number of the faculty. So that was my my time at the school lately.
Okay. Well, I just spoke to, I attended the Timberlane withdrawal public hearing, so I already talked about that. I also attended the open house for middle school and the locker decorating day. I was lucky enough to get to bring some of the girls over for that. I can tell you it was very popular behind the scenes as well. There were days before coordinating who was going to be there, what are you going to bring, what are you going to decorate your locker. So speaking to that, and actually my experience of having a fifth grader several years ago, I think the improvements that have been made over that transition are amazing. There was, I think, less nerves on the part of the incoming fifth graders, at least that I saw. They were pretty familiar. I did talk to my fifth grader, and she said, I already know everything. Why do I have to go to the meeting? Because can I just keep walking around? Because I already know everything. They've come and talked to us so many times. So that was wonderful. I got to, for the first time, welcome the district back at the staff meeting last week, yeah, which was amazing to see the energy in that room because everybody was ready to go. They were excited. I think they were sort of sitting in grade teams. So I also that day got to have a tour of the middle school by Mrs. Denola and see the new improvements that we've made. The school looks fantastic. I haven't made it to Central School yet. I will get there. I think that's about it.
I attended the public hearing for the withdrawal with Caitlin. Over the summer, I walked through both schools to see the progress. Mr. Gary was sending me text messages and photos of all the work that was being done at the middle school, so we could see everything that was happening. So I did that. I went to the open house at Central School, and I went to the open house at middle school. And I have to say, this year, what really stood out to me was the organization in both schools. I think I spent more time in Central School looking around in the classrooms, but they're very well organized. I think it gave the kids a real sense of security, of knowing where everything was, and there's a place for everything. The rooms weren't cluttered, even, which speaks to the fact that our staff does such a wonderful job in limited space that they have. Even the things that should be storage, books and boxes, I noticed they have them up and they have draped cloth over it, colorful cloth so that it looks like rainbows, so the kids don't see the boxes there. So I think that the environment in both schools, I was just pleased to see that it was very kid-friendly and very well organized this year.
I too went to both of the open houses, 4 different kids going into different grades. It was a busy evening last night, but everybody executed it flawlessly. Everybody was very open. The hospitality was incredible. Everybody had smiles on their faces. You could feel the energy in every room that we went in. And then this morning I also had the luxury, the privilege of going into the pre-K room for my youngest son, and Miss Mahoney and that entire team were just absolutely phenomenal. I had a concern about a little bit of separation anxiety with my youngest. After today, I don't fear that anymore. He feels very happy where he is, and he even told me to go away for 5 minutes so he could stay longer and play. So just a great job by everybody on in both schools, by both teams. It was just phenomenal.
Oh, I have one more thing I'm going to throw in. I would like to thank the PTSA. I walked into a 7th grade classroom, and all of the seating in that room is, I'm going to call them yoga balls, but they have like little feet on, sort of. But they donated they donated the funds to get all of those, so we have a whole classroom. And I just think it's one, just makes you smile walking in because there's just giant, colorful yoga balls throughout the whole room. So it's kind of a nice, I can just imagine the kids probably are pretty excited about that. I was told I do have a 7th grader, so I was told they're allowed to bounce a little bit, but just a little. Yes, math. Yes.
She is.
Yes. Yes. So thank you to the PTSA. I mean, they do a lot for us anyways, but happened to be something that stuck out to me, so I wanted to mention it. Consent agenda?
Excellent. Okay, there's a personnel report that we do not have on this evening because we had the summer hiring.
Yep.
First, I want to start, Emma's not with us tonight, so a little bit about our Pinkerton students. They had their orientation, class of 2023, had their orientation on Monday, and they had a great day. And today was the first day for the rest of the students. So, they're off to a good start, and we're working on that. That brings me to my next conversation with Dr. Powers. We're close to having the Pinkerton contract finalized for you. Our lawyers had played ping pong with that back and forth for quite some time, and all of us got exhausted in that process. So I'm going to meet with him. His board of trustees don't meet until mid to late September, so I should have something for you on September 10th, I believe. We can sign it first, and then they can sign it, or vice versa. But that contract is pretty much, we're in a really good shape, and that will be executed within the next couple of weeks. We both want to get the schools open, that sort of thing. I did want to, commend, our new teams in terms of professional development, mentoring, and curriculum. As I had an opportunity to walk around and talk to staff, especially new staff, about mentoring. Do you feel supported already? I think it spoke to the beginning of a new year where, a lot of times we feel a lot of anxiety and stress when we start. And I have to be honest, I've done this, for almost 40 years now, and what year was better than what year. But this particular year, we just feels relaxed, and it feels that people are they weren't feeling that stress and anxiety, and I didn't see that on parents or children's faces as I went through the building the last couple of days either. So that is a testament to organization and planning. It's no longer, the summer's off. I mean, teachers work year-round, everybody works year-round, and that was evident in the opening. And whether it's our professional development, our mentoring, or our curriculum, or just our administrative staff with our support, with teachers and their support, everybody seems to be in a really good place to start the year. So it's exciting, and certainly want to commend both of our principals and their administrative teams, because both open houses, our welcome back open houses, were great. They really were great, and it's great to live here and send my own children here. I don't think there was a family that didn't show up. And it's not just mom and dad, but it's the grandparents and friends and family. It's people bring 6, 7, 8, 9 people. It's complete families come in. It just creates a lot of energy. And I want to commend our crossing guards, Donna especially, who got a nice high five going across the street. Always a happy, smiling face, and always does a great job managing our traffic, as well as our other crossing guard, whose name slips my mind. The crossing guard.
Paula Maroon.
Is it?
Paula Maroon.
And Paula on both, I just happen to I hit Donna all the time, but Paula's up top, and they both do just a fantastic job. I want to talk a little bit about our transportation. As you know, there's always going to be, not everything goes 100% smoothly. So I just encourage, there's two-way communication. Make sure that that the school communicates effectively with parents, and that parents communicate effectively. So everyone's really clear on where students are being dropped off, picked up, who's doing it, pick-up patrol, all that. But a partnership. We both own it. When it doesn't go smoothly, we really need to work hard at that. So we had a couple of questionable things today in the first day, and so we're working through that. But I just wanted to, if parents are watching, and certainly administrative staff, to really just work on that communication. We both own, it's two-way in lots of ways. Coming our way soon, hopefully not too soon, you're hearing the triple-E kind of mosquito we're talking about, so that may be something we want to talk about in the near future. We've done this a number of different ways, but surrounding communities are already shutting down activities early and not having evening activities and those sorts of things. We have a lot of fall activities, soccer and field hockey and cross country and things that go on into 6, 7 o'clock. And as it starts to get to mosquito season, we need to start talking about that. So we should meet and really talk about that. We'll be, probably by our next meeting, we'll probably be having some sort of plan, because you're going to hear about a test here or a test there that may be positive in our area. I mean, Haverhill's already doing something. Methuen had some really awful things happen already, and they don't stop at the border, right? So these mosquitoes just kind of scary stuff. And we've tried a number of things, and it was really labor intensive to try to spray every student. So we're going to need to communicate some sort of message with parents what they want us to do. The board in the past has been great. We provided, I believe, the repellent for students if needed, but we need to talk some more about that. And finally, I just want to encourage parents. I know in terms of communication, and looking for action. So not that I'm asking you to send me 10 million emails, but certainly communicate with me, communicate with your building leaders. We certainly want to make sure that people feel supported and are getting the kinds of services that they expect. We have a great school district, and it really is. It's about our staff, it's about our students, but it's about our community, it's about our parents. So we want to make sure that they feel comfortable and they feel like they're being heard, and that they're seeing action when concerns. And if they're not getting action, why? So getting some answers to their questions. So I can guarantee you, if they communicate with me, copy me or send me, we'll get right back to you, and so will our buildings as well. So we're, again, off to a good start, and we appreciate, we're seeing me more often, and hopefully, hopefully we'll continue the good work. I think our students deserve the best, and certainly have the commitment of the staff here to deliver that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other business or old business that anyone is aware of? I don't have anything. We are going to go into a non-public, so under 91A3, paragraph 2, what's the legal one? It's not on our list. Is it K?
L.
L, thank you, Melissa. L, under legal. Can I No decision. No.
Thank you.
No decision. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Melissa, can you pull the board, please?
Mr. Giard,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Mrs. Yusenka.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.